Okay, K-Day Nation, I have to let it be known. This is probably one of the most legendary, epic interviews that I will do in my entire career. I've been in the radio game for 20 years, and I have to tell you, this is the first time that I've really sat down in front of somebody, and I was completely nervous, excited and nervous, but mostly because what she means to me and what she has done for me in my life. So I want to introduce, oh my God, I'm already getting emotional. I want to introduce none other the legendary Dolores Huerta. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for being here. This means so much to me. I need to tell you that I was emotional all weekend over it. You're the reason why I do what I do.
Well, thank you, because you reach so many people, and I know that everybody that listens to you, that they are so happy that you are here, where you need to be,
Yes.
where we need you to be, and that you can, comfort everyone out there with your beautiful voice and
Oh,
all
thank
of your
you.
expressions. And so I want to thank you, and I feel very honored to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Of course, of course. Listen, there's nobody more gangster than Dolores Huerta. Let me just say that right now. Absolutely, everything that you have done. But, growing up, watching, documentaries, PBS, I saw you a lot on television when it would come to documentaries. And at the time, there really wasn't Latinos that really speaking up for us. Soy Mexicana. And so when I would see you, you don't know this, but when I was watching you, it made it okay for me to speak out because you spoke out. So it made it okay for me to use my voice. And I thought, well, if she's doing it and she's creating this safe space for us to speak out, then it's okay for me to speak out against what's right and what's wrong, And so here I am, 20 years in my radio career. I have done so much for the community, but everything that I do for the community stems from somebody, and it does stem from you. I have seen your work, and it's just inspired me. It's encouraged me. You have been a voice whispering in my ear, and when I see you and I see your arm raised up and Puede, man, you make me so proud. I'm so proud to be Mexican. I'm so proud to be standing up for my community because you do it.
Well, thank you. I mean, there was never a more important time than now that we have to stand up because we
Yes.
know the La gente de Mexico, the Mexican people contribute so much to the United States, to the economy, our culture, everything that we have contributed over decades and decades and decades. And I love to remind people that, uh, we are in California, but California was part of Mexico.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because people will be like, "What's your name?" Like Cici, like Cici Puede.
I love that. I love that.
I'm like, that's why my name is Cici Puede. But Dolores, you have dedicated your entire life to standing up for farm workers, the folks who feed this country but rarely get a seat at the table. What was the moment that made you say, I have to fight for them no matter what? There was a moment in your life when that happened. Tell me about that moment.
Well, there were a couple of moments. One of them was when I was into kind of organizing. My early days as an organizer, and a group of the farm workers that had been brought in from Mexico during the Bracero period of the 40s, there was an accident and some of them were killed. And so we were trying to get resources for their families. And then I started visiting the labor camps, and I saw the way that the workers were treated, and that made me really angry. And I felt we had to do something to help them. And then as a school teacher in Stockton, California, seeing the children of the farm workers coming to my classes, obviously malnutrition, not having the appropriate clothes that they should have. And that's when I decided to quit being a teacher because I had learned how to become an organizer at that point, and I decided that I could actually help farm workers more by helping them organize themselves into a union. And about shortly after that, I met Cesar Chavez, and he was doing the exact same thing that I was doing, getting farm workers together. So after attempts that we were both trying to, we turned the people that we organized to other unions, but that didn't work. So then Cesar said, we have to start our own union, and that's what we did.
So when did you and Cesar meet? Where was that at?
It was actually, we were both in this organization that actually was from Los Angeles, the Community Service Organization, and we met in San Francisco at a dinner that our Oakland chapter was having. But we didn't really start working together until about 3 years later.
Oh, wow. You know, my grandfather was part of the Bracero program.
Really?
Yes, yes,
Wow.
yes. May he
Oh,
rest in peace. My grandfather
wow.
was a part. So it's funny because now on social media, on Instagram and TikTok, it's actually been going viral, like the information. And so, you know, my tias, you know, they're on it and they're sending us, and this is where where your grandpa came from, mija. He was a bracero, and I'm like, oh my goodness, and it's just good to like learn our roots all over again, you
Right.
know. But he was such a hard worker. Now, you did help start the, you know, United Farm Workers movement at a time when women weren't even supposed to speak up,
That's true.
you know, let alone organize. You know, what kind of resistance, Dolores, did you face back then, and what kept you pushing through it?
Well, from the farm workers themselves, there was a lot of respect because they knew that I was trying to help them. I was not trying to take advantage of them. And the message that we were just saying to them that you can change your condition, but you're the ones that have to do it. You can't wait for somebody else to come in from the outside. You have to come together. You have to organize, and they did. And so, from the farm workers themselves, I got a lot of support. Some of our leadership,
Yes.
among the men, there was always that tension in there. That number one, they would go against my ideas. That they would take credit for my work that I was doing, but I kind of learned how to push back. The good thing is that Cesar always had my back. He and
Yes.
I started the organization together, and he had a lot of faith in my ideas. And even when we had differences, and we would have many, many differences, we would have many, many arguments, but at the end of the day, we had that trust.
Absolutely. Did you there ever a time where you would just, was it frustrating, like, because still to this day there is some pushback when we're women, you know, and there is sexism and it happens, you know. How as a woman did you push through that? Because sometimes it's hard for me even to this day, you know. What do you lean into?
Well, you have to, number one, have faith in yourselves, in one's own ideas, and anticipate that there's going to be some pushback. And so you kind of have to work around it. You have to organize it. I call it planning. Some people call it scheming.
Okay.
But figure out how you're going to get the work done without with or without them, with men's approval or men's participation. There's, like they say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Okay,
Right.
and that's what we have to do as women. But always keep your eye on the prize and don't give up. Just don't give up, because that's the one thing that we cannot do. We have to, we have to make our stand. Make sure that we know what we're doing, we know where we're going, and and have that faith in ourselves.
Now, when you see farm workers today, and they're still marching, and they're still fighting, do you feel proud or do you feel frustrated because they're still fighting for the same basic rights you were fighting for in the 60s?
Well, actually, some of the rights that we were able to achieve, which are really the basic human rights, like having bathrooms in the field that people didn't have. They didn't have toilets. They didn't have cold drinking water. They didn't have hand washing facilities. They didn't have rest periods. They didn't have the right to organize in California. And those are the things that we won. They didn't have unemployment insurance or disability insurance. So these are basic human rights that we got, especially for the workers here in California, and the right to organize into a union, and protections when they are discriminated in the workforce.
Absolutely.
So those rights we still have, and they still have the right to have a union. The one thing that we in the United Farm Workers are still continuing to fight, and trying to get more contracts for the workers. And when they have a union contract, they have a pension plan. So when they retire, they will have a check.
They
So
need that.
yeah, all of the workers that work under United Farmer contract, and when they get too old to work, then and they retire, they have a little check that comes every month to their home.
Absolutely, as they should.
Yeah,
you
they
know,
should.
you once said every moment is an organizing opportunity. For folks listening right now who want to help farm workers but don't know where to start, what's the one thing that they can start doing today?
Well, we know that, and we have bigger issues that we're fighting for right now. As we know, a lot of the farm worker families, and this is what my foundation does. We work with the farm worker families. We don't organize farm workers into a union, but we help their families. And we know that a lot of the budget cuts that are being talked about right now in the Congress, and so right now we're doing a lot of work on our Congress person, David Valadeo. He's from the He's not a Latino, by the way. He's a Portuguese,
Oh, okay.
Portuguese. And Valadeo is a Republican, and we're putting a lot of heat on him to vote no on the budget cuts because they're going to cut millions and millions of dollars from Medi-Cal, from Medicaid, to shut down the food banks. They're already shutting down the food banks. And some of these families, they depend on that food from the food banks. And this is all over the
So we're
United
almost
States.
like it's almost like taking us back to square one.
Exactly. This is all over the United States. It's not just in California. A lot of now they're going after some of the programs that we have for undocumented workers here in California. So right now we're concentrating on this. In fact, we're going to be starting a fast in Bakersfield. Starting on Monday, we have the person that was in charge of the food bank in Bakersfield, California, just finished a 5-day fast. He went without water, without food. He did drink water, but
Right.
went without food for 5 days. So
Wow.
we're protesting this, and we've had a lot of demonstrations. We're asking people to contact their congressman and say you've got to fight these budget cuts, okay? Because so many people are going to be left without the services that they need, especially for our disabled population. You know?
Yes, I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Really, the disabled population that really does need help. When I first got to really meet you in person, it was, and I have the photo right now. I actually posted on social media. It was back in 2017 when you had the documentary Dolores.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I will show you the picture at the end of the interview, but I know what it meant for me to see you and to see your story. How did it feel to see your life and your activism portrayed on the big screen?
Well, it was a little painful.
Really?
Well, the reason was is because in the work that I did, of course, I had to leave my children oftentimes, with other people to take care of them. And in the documentary, Dolores, that you referred to, they kind of focus on that a lot. So that was kind of painful, seeing my children interviewed. But my kids came out fine, I'm really lucky, One of my
11 children.
Yeah, one of my daughters, Juanita, was a teacher. My other son, Emilio, is an attorney. My
Oh,
oldest
you
son is
did good.
he's a
You
doctor.
did good. Yes.
And I have a daughter who's a nurse. All of my kids are really great, and they're all very movement attuned.
Yes.
They know
She
what the
created some
movement's about.
chingonas.
Yeah, you're right, exactly.
Yes. Were there any parts of the documentary that actually surprised you besides that was like an emotional revisit?
Well, it was emotional because it was like revisiting the past and seeing everything that we had to go through, and then of course, when we lost Cesar, when Caesar passed away,
Yes.
that was also very painful. But I have been able to see the documentary without without crying.
Right.
Throughout the documentary. But I would like to say to people, to see it if they possibly can. You can get it on YouTube or
Yes.
in Amazon.
I was just going to say you can stream it on Amazon too. You guys got to watch the documentary Dolores. Like, honestly, I sat there and I watched it. I remember we're in this like room and I literally just cried. I just sat there and cried, and we were able to get a photo with you because everybody was fighting to get pictures with you afterwards. But it meant so much to me because I didn't realize, like, one, I didn't know you had 11 children until I watched the documentary. There were some things that I learned, I didn't know that it was hard. And I don't even know why I didn't think about that. I didn't know it was hard for you as a woman back in those days. I just didn't see it until I saw the documentary. There's so much that I learned from it. And I just thought, man, and it really made me feel like she's a badass, man. She's badass.
Thank you. And there's another documentary that I would like to recommend to people. They're just re-releasing it, called El Norte. And I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No, I'm writing it down.
Gregory Nava, he is the director that did the movie Selena.
Yes.
Selena, Mi Familia,
Yes, I've
and,
seen
and
that
Norte,
too.
and all of these movies of his have now been put into the Library of Congress registry because of that famous. And it's going to be re-released, and if you want to get that El Norte, and this details the story of people that come from Guatemala that are
wow.
escaping the civil wars of Guatemala and what they have to go through to get to the United States, and then what happens to them once they are in the United States. And it's kind of the classic story of the suffering that immigrants have to go through in the United States. So I would recommend to people to look it up, El Norte. It's a great, great movie. The director is Gregory Nava.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch that. Now, Dolores highlights your central role in the founding of the United Farm Workers Union. What do you think, Dolores, often people misunderstand about the movement or your partnership with Cesar Chavez?
Well, I think number one, oftentimes they don't really believe that I had anything to do with it. But the thing is,
The
in
photos are there. The photos are there.
the
The
photos
archive is there. Yes.
in my jail record is there.
You're over 20 times. When I say she's a baddie, you have been arrested almost over 20 times standing up for us.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and it took a lot, and I think the fact that myself as a woman and I can be portrayed as a leader
Yes.
in that organization, I think that also gives inspiration to women everywhere. That we women are leaders, and in fact, I want to share a quote with you
Please.
from Coretta Scott King, who said, "We will never have peace in the world until women take power." We will never have peace in the world until women take power. And when I say that, that includes men, because I hate to say feminists, right? Feminists, because feminists are people that stand up for women's right to choose, right to abortion. A feminist stands up for immigrants' rights,
Right.
and for LGBTQ rights,
Yes.
So we want to talk about, and we know many men are feminists also, okay?
Yes.
Because they share those values with us.
They're definitely supporters. How did you connect with leaders of the feminist movement going on to that, like Gloria Steinem, Angela Davis?
Well, with Gloria, I met her in New York City when we were doing the Great Boycott. Because even though we had a 5-year strike, there were asked people not to come and not to go to work, to stay out of work, stay out of the fields. But we couldn't win. So then we asked people all over the country to boycott grapes and to boycott the stores that carry grapes. And by doing that, we were finally able to get the growers to the negotiating table. By the way, we're also doing the same thing now, asking people to boycott Target, because Target is doing away, or they have done away with their policies of inclusion and equity, and diversity.
Right.
Because they need more people of color. They need more people, LGBTQ people, more women in their leadership at Target, because we're the consumers.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like Target has lost a lot of money since Black and Brown hasn't shopped there.
That's right. That's right.
So I know that is something that we are still boycotting. Let me ask you this. Dolores, your documentary brought your story to new generations. And I will show you the picture. When I went to go check out the screening, I brought a young girl with me that was like 21 years old. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I actually sent her the photo this morning. I'm like, girl, I'm going to interview. Isn't this crazy? Have you seen a difference in how young people connect with your message since the film's release?
Oh, absolutely. Young people, they seem to understand. They don't know all of the history of the racism in our country, but I think their minds are much more open, and they're not bogged down with all of the isms that we have in our
Right.
society. So that their thinking is much more free, and they want to know because they want to see that we have a better world and a better society.
And I see your influence in, now we have social media, and social media is so powerful. You've got Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm seeing I love to call them our young Doloreses, like out there in the community. And one of them that I actually want to acknowledge during this interview is a girl named Flor. And on Instagram, it's flowers in Spanish. And Flor does a lot of stuff for farm workers. And she has done a lot of different organizing different events, different protests. And every time I see her on social media, it reminds me of you.
Oh, wow. I'll have to meet her.
You have to meet this girl. This girl is amazing and does amazing work. And she's a undocumented immigrant. And so she stands up.
Wow.
Yeah. And she speaks, and she has created all these different movements along the coast. And she just reminds me of a young Dolores. How important is it to tell stories like yours, especially for, women of color like myself, in the documentary and film and education? I think it's important because I think it's important to tell the stories so that people learn and they carry the vision with them. Do you agree?
And also, that we can overcome all of the obstacles that they put there in front of us. Because, when we were organizing the farm workers, we had everybody against us. We had the governor of the state of California was against us, and then that was Reagan. We had the president against us, Nixon. We had all of many of the banking industries. They were all against us. The Farm Bureau, the Teamsters Union at that time. They're okay
Right.
now, by the way. But in spite of all of these forces, the people have the power to win, and that's the one thing that we have to continue in all of the organizing that we do with the Dolores Huerta Foundation. This is what we tell them: people can make the changes, and they have the power. And we have seen those changes, a lot of infrastructure changes where the people that we organize, I'll give you a couple of examples. One of them, they made a petition to get a brand new gymnasium at their middle school because they didn't have a gym.
Oh,
They
wow.
went registered voters, they passed a bond issue. Another place, they took over their water system that was run by a company from Texas. They said, no, we're going to run our own water system. And they did. They petitioned, they did the work, and they took over their own water system. And they have parks that they have built, places where they didn't have street lights, they didn't have sidewalks and gutters, and they didn't have parks. And they got together and they made this happen in their community. We have a big youth group also.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
10 of our youth group went to universities last year in 2024. One of our
Wow.
youth was recognized by the California Endowment. So all of this work that we do, we're a nonprofit organization. And by the way, we're going to be doing a fundraiser also. I just want to let everybody know.
Yes, please.
Right here at La Placita, right here in Los Angeles on
June
June the 6th.
6th.
June 6th. If anybody wants to come and join us, we'd love to welcome you to come and have a lot of fun. And we're going to have a good band. We're going to be dancing. And I think you're going to be there
I'm
with
going to
us.
be emceeing the event. I cannot wait for this. I'm going to be emceeing the event. I'm so excited about that June 6th. And we will be, putting that on, we'll be talking about it on air. We're going to post it for you. Everybody does need to come out. When we were doing our research and we're like, let's just make sure we have, really great questions for her. You're such a big deal to us. We were trying to count all the schools that are named after Dolores Huerta. That's crazy. First of all, and I love that because it gives these kids that go there, especially these brown little girls, some sense of pride, some sense of belonging when the school's named after them. I was born in Martin Luther King Hospital here in LA. We called it Killer King at the time, but I was born in If you were from LA, born and raised, you know about Martin Luther King Hospital. But I always felt like I had this connection because I was, born in his hospital. I always felt like growing up, I'm connected to Martin Luther King. So I could only feel the connection that these kids feel when they go and they're like, I go to Dolores Huerta Middle School. We have one right here in Burbank. And I think it's important. I don't know if you think it is, but I think it's important to have these institutions named after you. For the simple reason is because when I was born in Martin Luther King Hospital, I felt like when growing up I had a connection to him. Although I didn't, I just felt it. But they felt the same thing, to me, you are my Martin Luther King. You are my Malcolm X. You know what I
Thank
mean?
you.
You are everything, that represents our gente, you know what I mean? And the struggles of it. Let me ask you this. Why do you think it's important for schools and public institutions to reconsider the names that they carry,
Well, I think it's very important. In fact, the school that you mentioned here in Burbank
Yeah.
was named for a white racist eugenicist, of someone that believed that white people were superior to people of color, which is ridiculous because, often that they don't know or because they're so ignorant that all of our human race came from Africa. All of us, we're Homo sapiens. That's a scientific name, and our human race began in Africa. And so this idea that somehow you're superior because you have a lighter skin is
Right.
ridiculous, And by the way, another school where they changed the name, like the one they did here in Burbank, was one in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was named after Christopher Columbus, and they changed the name, and now it's the Dolores Huerta School in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yes, I love it. I love that. And you know what's so crazy is that the renaming effort was led by students.
I know.
That is so amazing. What message would you like to share with those students about their advocacy and their courage to speak up?
Well, I think they really show the way. This is the way that you do it. They got together, they passed petitions, they went to their teachers, they went to the administration, and the administration listened to them. And I think that was also very, very important because, again, the young people know they care about justice. They care about equity. They want to see the racism and the sexism, the machismo. They want to get rid of all of that stuff,
Right.
and make sure that we have a better world. And so they are our hope. You know,
Yeah, I love it. Now, if you could visit the school and speak to the students directly, what's the one message that you would leave them with?
Well, I actually was there for the when they named the school. They inaugurated the name, and so I was able to speak to the students. And number one, I just thanked them for their vision, the fact that they understood that it was their school,
Yes.
and that this school was named after a racist, and that this was wrong, and that they had to change it. And I know that there were other names that were being circulated, and of course, I was very grateful that they chose my name. So I just have to say to the students at the Burbank Middle School, thank you so much. At the Dolores Huerta Middle School, thank
Yes.
you so very, very much, because I think just the name of the school itself sends a very strong message.
And to know that your legacy lives on in these generations, to these younger generations. Um, Now, let's talk about Dolores Huerta Day. Yes, April 10th here in LA is Dolores Huerta Day. I'm so excited about that. Congratulations. Um, Besides the, gala that we're doing on June 6th, what does that meaningful celebration to you look like?
Well, it means a lot of things, and in fact, the fact that the Board of Supervisors from Los Angeles County, because all of the supervisors are women.
Mm.
Every single one of the LA County supervisors are women, and we have seen that they have done a lot of innovative work. Hilda Solis, of course, who is the one that kind of initiated this. And Hilda Solis was the first Latina in the California State Senate.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she was also the first Latina to be on the presidential cabinet because she was the Secretary of Labor with President Obama. And
Oh,
so, we have this kind of leadership. I think it's just amazing. Again, that people need to know this. And her family were immigrants also. Her family, they came from, I believe, one of them from Mexico, the other one from Nicaragua. So
yeah.
so it's really important for that immigrant success story to be told over and over again.
Dolores, what did you, I don't know, what emotions were going through? What did you feel like when you heard that Barack Obama was using it in the campaign, Si Se Puede? Like, that was, for us, we're like, yes, we loved it.
Yeah, that was really interesting. And when I met Barack Obama, our president, the first thing he said to me, he said, "I stole your slogan." And I said to him, "Yes, you did."
But you can use it.
Right.
What unfinished work do you hope future leaders and communities will continue to fight for?
Well, we have a big fight ahead of us right now to think about our country, about saving our democracy, continuing, again, the fight that I mentioned before to end the inequalities that we have in our society. And not only the racial inequalities and against sexism, but also the economic inequalities that we have. Because we have a system where we have corporations rule, and we see that it's not working out well,
Right.
especially now when our president thinks that they should cut all of these programs that we have that people depend on, so that they can get more tax cuts to the billionaires. And
Right.
we're not talking about millions; we're talking about billionaires that have so much money that I don't know what they can do with that money.
Right.
But anyway, but so through our democratic processes that we have to stop this, and we have to change it. And so it's really important for people to register to vote, for people to vote, for people to become citizens so they can vote if they aren't already citizens. We all have to participate in making democracy work.
And every little bit counts. Even if you do a little bit in your little space, in your little part of your little tiny community, whatever you're doing, it makes a difference.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Listen, you are a symbol of hope, possibility, honor, and courage to me. You are the reason why I am doing what I'm doing. You're the reason why I'm a chingona, why I speak up. I am not afraid, Dolores. I have no fear. It's the craziest thing. But I really think that it comes from leadership of obviously my family, my grandmother, my grandfather coming over from Mexico, watching you growing up, hearing you speak, and saying, man, at that time, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, that was crazy time, where we didn't have a lot of Latino leaders. You know what I mean? So you were the very, very few. And I don't even want to think about how maybe in certain moments of your life it could have been scary. You could have felt alone at some times. You could have felt like the world was weighing on your shoulders. A lot of people depended on you, but you kept going. And that's where somebody like me, come in, and I want to honor you, and I just want to give you your flowers now and show you that you are so loved in our community. And I talk about you to my family. I talk about you to my nieces. I show them photos of you because I want them to be inspired. I want to spark that, in their mind, that they can keep going. The world's not small for them. It's a big world. Go and explore it. You know what I mean? You own it, So I just want to say thank you so much, first of all, for having me MC your gala. I am so honored to be doing that. But just to be even sitting in the same room with you, you have no idea at all what this means to me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for your beautiful, beautiful words, because when you honor me, you are also honoring all of the farmer women out there and all of the Latina women out there that need your voice to make all of us a lot stronger, giving us not only your history, but also your achievements and what you mean. And voices are so important, especially today.
Yes.
The voices of hope, the
Yes.
voices of optimism.
We got to continue to speak up and continue
Absolutely.
the good fight. And, a lot of the different things that are going on with the farm workers, I see a lot of support within the community now. It's amazing. It's amazing that we all have came together. It's amazing that there are, the next generation is speaking up. And social media has done a lot for that too. There's things that people are rediscovering. I just told you earlier, my grandfather was a bracero. My nieces didn't really know that struggle. You know what I mean? So when we got to sit there and show them videos, and this is where your family comes from. This is the fight that we've had. It gives them some sense of pride. And I always tell them, never, ever, ever be afraid to speak up. Always speak up when you know something, isn't right. So thank you so much. You are a legend. Your legacy lives on. And I think I got through this interview without bawling my eyeballs out too much.
Oh, thank you.
My mom was so excited. She's like, please give her a hug and tell her thank you for everything that she has done for our people. And I said, I said, do you want me to put you on the phone with her? She said, no, I'm too nervous. Just give her a hug for me. And I said, okay.
Please give her my regards. And I just want to
Absolutely.
thank everybody out there that's helping our immigrant community, because we know that they are going through a very painful moment right now in our times. And anything that we can do to help our families whose loved ones are either being threatened with deportation or facing that fear, any
Yes.
support that we can give them in any kind of way, please do that. Sí se puede.
Sí se puede. Let's
No,
go.
we have to say, sí se puede.
Sí se puede. I love it.